A Sisters All You Need Volume 1 Review. The autumn 2017 anime season saw a super amount of top-tier anime air, but among them, only was most charmed by a series known as A Sisters All You Need. With a blend over-the-top humor and a realistic portrayal of light novel authors, I found myself very invested in the show. Fast forward to today, and Yen Press has just released the first volume of the original light novels in English. This is shaped as promising as its anime adaptation. The story begins with Itsuki Hashima, popular 20-year-old light novelist who was an obsession with the little sisters. Because of this complex, all of his books revolve around the characters and their little sisters, but surprisingly, his works have been popular enough for him to publish 20 titles in 5 years. While following the daily life of Itsuki, we also become acquainted with his friends, fellow authors Nayuta Kani, and Haruto Fuwa, as well as Itsuki's friend from college, Miyako Shirakawa, and Itsuki's younger stepbrother, Chihiro Bashima. The five get together to play board games, drink, and generally talk about the trials and tribulations in their work. On the surface, there isn't a great deal of plot and offer in this first volume. A large portion of it is busy introducing us to each of the characters individually and then bringing them together toward the end of our fascinating story revolving around them playing a tabletop RPG. Introducing them one at a time works well because they all have their own separate stories to tell with very different challenges and goals. Nayuto is an 18-year-old award-winning genius novelist who is inspired to write after reading one of Itsuki's books. After having read in history, Nayuta also fell deeply in love with Itsuki and proclaims this to him as soon as the two met. To this day, she is determined to make him her husband despite Itsuki's head-on refusals. The other female members of the cast, Miyako is a normie with no ties to the light novel industry, but after being inspired by Itsuki's hardworking attitude, the two became friends. She is down to earth and very much the big sister of the group, who works to keep the others grounded. Then we have Haruto, who acts as Daisuke's rival due to the two having debuted around the same time. Haruto's novels are also popular but rely on romance and popular cliches, rather than Itsuki's little sister-filled stories. Although Haruto is technically doing better than Itsuki, as one of his series is already being adapted into an anime, he's still jealous of Itsuki, who he pursues to be a better writer. Chihiro, on the other hand, much like Miyako, has no understanding of the work his brother does but frequently visits Itsuki's apartment to cook and clean for him. Thanks to visiting Itsuki so often, Chihiro has become friendly with all of his brother's friends. All the characters presented have somewhat generic and stereotypical personalities, but they're actually well written by author Yumi Hirasaka. Each of them gives you the impression that there's more to them than meets the eye. Due to Hirasaka's making the cast and humor so over the top, when they do get moments looking at their hidden feelings, they're very hard-hitting. I think this is a good time to mention that this light novel series is not the same as you might think from the front cover, synopsis, or its name. Much of the humor drawn out of the book is crude and adult in nature, and there are several very not for safe for work illustrations depicting female members of the cast naked, although there is an age rating at the back of the book which judges as fine for age 16 plus. I personally think the volume deserves slightly higher rating due to the nature of illustrations, especially given that one is depicting lesbian sex. The author also enjoys slipping in jokes about Nayuta wanting to have sex with Itsuki or sexual references in general, given that all the characters, except for Chihiro, who is underage, spend a lot of time drinking and talking about alcohol. It's not exactly the best book for a younger audience. I think this light novel being mislabeled, in my opinion, is potentially a noteworthy issue. Given the fact that up until then there have been very few light novels with this kind of adult content published in translation. However, thanks to the boom of the isekai books brought from the West by Yen Press, it's easy for younger readers or parents to mistake A Sisters All You Need as more of the same. This is especially a concern for parents who might not know, but given that the front cover depicts animated characters, which you might like the characters. I can only hope that Yen Press adjusts the rating going forward, both for this title and other books like it. I don't normally find fan service and adult jokes enjoyable, but in this case I don't mind because ultimately it's a ploy. Hirasaka goes so far with some of the jokes that I can take them even remotely seriously, and I don't think I'm supposed to. I think ultimately they draw your attention away from the very real fears and anxieties the cast have, and that's why I recommend A Sisters All You Need to people like me. This is certainly not a series for everyone, but for someone who's obsessed with stories like anime supremacy, Shirobako, and Bakuman, which depicts people working in creative industries. There's something to be said for A Sisters All You Need's realistic portrayal of an author's daily life and the troubles they face. Having watched the anime, I know there's a lot of good content to come related to working in the light novel industry, which is why they can put aside the things I'm not usually a fan of and I keep reading for everything else. A Sister's All You Need comes to the West thanks to Young Press. The book has been translated by Kevin Gifford, and what I did notice, one typo within its author is probably free and read spell. Illustrations for the volume has been handled by Kantoko and are well detailed. Kantoko has also shown some really nice character stat pages at the end of each chapter, which are fun to read drunk. Ultimately, A Sister's All You Need is a good read for an older audience. It still contains things that might turn off that audience, Itsuki's love for younger sisters being one, but I think if you can look beyond that and are interested in the subject matter, then you'll probably enjoy it. My only real concern is that younger readers will stumble upon it and be subject to the very adult illustrations, which is a really failing to Young Press's age rating system. That aside, I had a lot of fun reading the first volume, so I'm excited for future volumes and following more of these characters' daily lives. 7 out of 10.